This is something that has been bothering a lot of people in poker, and I just happen to have a pretty strong voice that, like, when I say something, sometimes it gets traction, and this one did. And like this one guy who basically said that me putting a picture of a dog on Twitter and saying make it stop is akin to me running up to somebody in a wheelchair and calling him a lazy fuck. Like, it just like got so far out of hand. Yeah, I mean, the reality is that the dream of making it in poker is not necessarily dead, because the mid stakes stuff is still really good, and there's still a lot of it, and the money is still pretty big. But the idea of turning that into becoming a poker superstar is somewhat dead. I think that path is pretty much closed up with the Chargers beating the Eagles. Now they're 3 back. Even if the Chiefs win this game, they're still 2 back. The walls are closing in for sure on the Chiefs.
Welcome, everybody, to Gamble Up, episode 16. We are off and running on December 11th, 2025. I'm your host, Dave Schwartz, alongside Roscoe Pete Coltrane.
Who let the dogs out?
Source of that is Mr. David Baker in Las Vegas. David, are you surrounded by wolves?
No, I got my little puppy, but she's not a puppy anymore. But look, I love dogs. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big dog fan. All right.
So where this all stems from is this week, David, you're at the World Poker Tour at the Wynn, and the entire poker community that isn't in the Bahamas is there. It's packed house everywhere you go, I'm sure. And people are bringing their dogs. And this has been a thing for a while. People bring their dogs to the poker room. And there's been sort of some people complaining about it for a while here and there, but not a lot. And it just gets to be more prevalent. Even where I live here in Vancouver, I'm seeing dogs in places you just don't ever see dogs. And there's it's a service dog, but it's not registered. It doesn't have the little drape thing, or it's not a blind, somebody for blind people, whatever. It's an emotional support animal. And you took a picture of a couple of particularly big dogs in the poker room and made a comment about them looking like wolves, I think. That kind of, usually we're talking about poker drama on Twitter. Well, look, you started it this week, so we're going to have to talk about it now. Some people weren't super happy with your take.
Look, shout out to my friend Len Ashby, who has been championing anti-dogs in poker room for a lot longer than me. Most of his don't really get much traction just because kind of, I guess, when or where or whatever, but I don't know. I mean, I took a picture of let me just go on record. I like dogs. I like dogs a lot. But
I don't believe you.
But there's a time and a place for a dog. I'm very sympathetic to people who have real issues and need a service animal. And I think the proliferation of dogs in the poker room has diminished their cry for like being able to, and they might get lumped in with people who are trying to take advantage of a system that allows you to exploit a loophole in our government, which is great. Like, it's to give rights to people who may otherwise need some protection. And, dogs are essential for them to work and operate and live and function in society. But the problem is when it was 1 or 2, it's like, okay, we understand this part, but now it's 10, 20, 30, 40. I mean, and they're big dogs. And, people who say, just take an allergy pill or just ignore it or just whatever. It's like, at some point, like, whose rights supersede other people's rights? And it's just kind of like, we've seen it on airplanes, big dogs and like, what if you have allergy? I mean, there's people who have peanut allergies and the airline doesn't give peanuts to anybody. Well, what should I just tell them to take a different flight? Like, I mean, it's just like, it's silly that, we get to this point that people are able to exploit a loophole. And anyway, like, one of the players in the picture is somebody who been known to bring her dog everywhere. It's had a couple of run-ins in the past, and
when you say and this is an important part, I think, too. Because if everybody brought a dog, you've got 9 dogs sitting around a table, and the dealer has a dog, and the floorman has a dog, so that's 11. I mean, what were the issues in the past with the dog?
Well, I mean, this particular dog has bit somebody at the Poker Goat studio, and it was a food runner. I think she came out and said that like the person stepped on the dog and it retaliated or bit back or whatever. It's not mine here or there to know that, but also I know that a Resorts World or an APT, it nipped a floor person. So there's been a multiple instances, but I don't want to put anything on the dog. Like, I mean, the dog is just doing what it does. I mean, it's a dog.
Course,
like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not anti-dog at all. And I'm not even anti this person. Like, it's just kind of like, it's just this person has kind of taken up the shield to defend the dogs, but also because she probably gets more attention than others because she's around more often than others. But it's not like it wasn't an attack on her per se or this particular dog. It's just it's just a epidemic that we're seeing. And look, I'm trying to play poker and concentrate, and I have, we're playing 9 and 10 handed like poker for 12 hours. Like, having a dog under my feet is not like the most comfortable thing. I am allergic to big dogs and hairy dogs, not necessarily big, just hairy. And so it's uncomfortable for me, but I didn't want to like put that and be like a victim. But like, I'm not trying to like be a victim of it. It's just doesn't seem to be the place for this type of. Anyway, it just kind of exploded on Twitter, which was kind of, kind of funny, kind of not. I have had multiple. I'm very friendly in the poker world. I mean, a lot of people know me, talk to me, enjoy the stuff that I put out and everything. And I had multiple poker room managers contact me and be like, "Thank you. Like, this is out of hand. We're babysitting dogs. We're cleaning up after them constantly." And so this is not, even if this particular person that got offended and got the most brunt of it, even if her dog's perfect and doesn't do anything and she's perfect and takes care of it, which she's probably a great dog owner, but I have seen instances. So I was in the poker studio and there was, the dog spilled water and she just left it there. And like, we were playing for 30 minutes and it was like sitting there right under my feet. So, I mean, I've seen that she's not 100% perfect with it, but it's not, like I said, it's not about her. It's just about the large amounts that we're seeing. I had multiple poker room managers, not just floor people, but managers who follow me that said, "Thank you for like speaking up on this. This is something that like we can't really do anything about. And we're kind of stuck with ADA situation and people are abusing it." And again, if you have a real issue, bring your dog. Like, I mean, it's fine. Like, I mean, I'm not like saying that. It's just these particular ones that I happened to run in back to back when I first entered the tournament. Like, it was just like, what the heck? Like, it's just been something that's bothered me. And the thing is, like, it bothers a lot of people. If it got a ton of traction on Twitter and I got a lot of responses, and 90% of them were like on my side, and 10% of them said I was a devil because like, how dare I hate people and hate dogs and take a Claritin and don't play tournaments if this kind of stuff bothers you. And it's like,
that's silly, right? Like,
that's just silly. Yeah. So anyway, most of it's been positive, but the fact of the matter is this is something that has been bothering a lot of people in poker. And I just happen to have a pretty strong voice that like, when I say something, sometimes it gets traction, and this one did. And then it just sparked like this one guy who basically said that me putting a picture of a dog on Twitter and saying, "Make it stop," is akin to me running up to somebody in a wheelchair and calling him a lazy fuck. Like, it just like got so far out of hand. I'm just like, where are you drawing this like comparison? So anyway, that's kind of been my week, is just kind of been dealing with that. But anyway, I mean, look, no offense to any one particular person. And it's just kind of is what it is. It's a situation that if not checked and if there doesn't come something into play, we just become a dog kennel. Like, I mean, it's kind of.
What do you think the solution is then? Is it like just service, go back to just service dogs?
I mean, the problem is like, we are not allowed to, it's just very easy to get a tag that says service dog. It's very, very simple. Like, my dog has a service tag, and
it's an extra step though. Like, I would never do that even if I wanted to bring my
Right.
dog somewhere.
It's just kind of like, you can do whatever you want. And according to our ADA, like, you can't ask, you can't, and I can't like say, well, your reason's not good enough to be in the poker room. But the thing is, like, I see a lot of these people like around, and sometimes they have the dog, sometimes they don't. So like, as far as I'm concerned, if it's a real service dog, like, you kind of need to have it all the time, right? Either you need it or you don't. But I don't know, that might just be naive by me, like thinking that some things happen at certain times, like whatever. I don't want to call anybody out necessarily individually, because, I believe in, humanity and being a good person and all those things. And I also like dogs. So it's not like, it's nothing about that. It's just, when you start having 100-pound super hairy dogs that are, some people are scared of them. Like, I mean, they're big, like, and it's not their fault that they are, but
well, they had a traumatic
it shouldn't be
experience.
imposing on my ability to be comfortably playing.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of these things have to be thought of in, at scale, right? Like, will this work? Okay. Are people able to bring a dog? Well, what would happen if everybody brought a dog? Would that work? I mean, a lot of dogs would fight, and they would fight with each other, and they'd become aggressive and things like that, right? I love dogs. I had a Husky Shepherd. Ross knows that dog that I had. It was the best dog in the world. He bit somebody. He bit my kid. I wouldn't trust him in a poker room full of dogs because I know it could go sideways really quick. And now I'm responsible, and somebody's going to get hurt, and that would be my fault for bringing that dog, right?
Yeah, I mean, their argument is, well, no, these are trained, these are service dogs. But the thing is, you don't have to prove that they're certified service dogs to get it. In this day and age, you can just go on the internet and fill out a form, and they'll send you a vest or or a tag. So, like, yes, I'm not the ones that are good and service and trained, then okay, like, if they're there for a specific purpose. But if you're doing these things just so that you can have your companion with you because you don't want to pay for dog care or whatever, look, at the end of the day, if you're going to be spending 12 to 16 hours a day in a poker room 5 days a week, maybe owning a big dog's not for you. I mean, it's just like, it just kind of you have to kind of at some point view other people as a commodity that is valued in their thought process. But again, this is not to take away from anybody who particularly needs,
those are real problems, right? Like, I
Yeah.
can't brush those aside. People have real problems that they need service animals for. I don't take any issue with that. And especially the woman that's in question that you went back and forth with a bit on Twitter, she has a real issue that is solved by her dog. That's without question. But that doesn't mean that you can bring a dog everywhere you go because it has an effect on where you're going all the time, right?
Yeah. It just kind of is what it is. And, I welcome debate, and I welcome being wrong, and I welcome getting support and being, having other people on the side. And part of the reason why I posted is just like, I want to see, like, is this bothering other people as much as it's bothering me? I sat there, she was at the table next to me, not even at my table. And I sat and I played, and my eyes were watering for the entire time I was playing. I didn't want to post that. I didn't want it to be like a thing. I didn't want to be like a victim. But it was uncomfortable. And, so yeah, at what point is my comfortability, sabotaged for yours? And, there are certain things that we can and can't do in this world if we can't like function in a certain way. Like, if you can't be in a poker room without this large hairy dog, and like you're there for 14 hours a day or 12 hours for a tournament, like day one, then maybe poker's not for you. And I don't want to I'm not trying to exclude people, but there's certain things that we can and can't do. Like, I can't see very well. So you know what? I can't fly a plane. Like, it's just like, there are certain things that you can and can't do in this world, and you have to decide and figure out, like, if you're able to. I know that might not be PC, and like, everybody should be able to do everything, but we can't all do every job. Like, it's just not, I'm not strong enough to be a construction worker. So you know what? They shouldn't put things in there to make me do that. Like it's just not, I'm not physically capable of it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what the answer is. All I know is that it's getting worse and worse by the year. What started out as 1 or 2 is turned into 5 or 10, which now it's like 10 or 20. And next year it's going to be 50. It's just something that I just wanted to bring up. And, yeah. And if you have a different opinion of that, that's fine. Like, I don't mind it, but I'm not a horrible person for bringing it up either.
I wonder if there's some parameters that could be put around having dogs. Like there's only a maximum of 2 at a time, or you got to get some sort of permit from the casino, or it can only be certain types of dogs that aren't, they're hypoallergenic. I don't know.
I don't think there's a good answer. That's the problem. But yeah, I just kind of basically me putting it out there. If there's somebody who doesn't really need to, and they think twice because they saw the post and they don't want to they don't want to listen to the stuff, then maybe they leave it at home. I mean, I have a friend of mine who plays in the cash game that I play in a lot, or that I used to play in a lot, and he brings his little dog, and nobody in the game has a problem with it. And there are a couple people who are allergic to it. And if they're in the game at the same time, he's very cognizant to either A, not bring the dog, or B, sit on the other side of the table. And you can do that in the cash game environment, and you can do those type of things. But when you're in a tournament, tournament poker is different. Like you're just not allowed to do that. I mean, what if the dealer's like highly allergic? You're gonna, and you're sitting in the 1 or the 9 seat, and then like the dog's there, and I don't know. It just becomes a big issue. Yeah, it just becomes an issue. But
yeah,
let's move on to some more fun stuff.
All right, let's talk about poker, because you are playing lots of poker. The poker world is split between the Bahamas and Las Vegas, playing in the World Poker Tour Championship Series and the World Series of Poker Paradise Series. Watching Daniel's vlogs and now Roscoe, you're working on some of those as well. Watching the amount of money that people are flying through down there it's
absurd.
It is absurd. It's totally mind blowing to watch that sort of. The buy-ins, the unlimited 100K buy-ins.
I don't know what the exact tally is, but I would assume Daniel's in for like 1.5 million so far.
Yeah, I mean, and Daniel can afford it, so it's not whatever. That's I think Daniel going in knew exactly what he was getting into, and I'm sure.
I mean,
but it's crazy to think of sort of the very. Not exclusive part of the poker world that tournament caters to, rather than, oh, hey, it's the Bahamas. Yes, it's an expensive place to go, but why don't we make it a trip for, well, I know we talked about it before, but it just, watching some of the stuff that comes out of there just reinforces how exclusive this tournament series is. Let's talk about that first, David, and then we'll talk about the World Poker Tour.
Yeah, I mean, I've said my piece on it. I love the World Series. I don't want to throw any shade on the brand. I love the brand. I love the bracelets. I love the hunt in the summer. They have tournament series throughout the year that are set aside for players who play small and can't afford the big buy-ins. And they call those WSOP circuits. They give away rings for them. There's high rollers, these super high rollers, in an exclusive part with unlimited reentry, with structures that cater towards getting the most out of the player, the most entries possible, because there's such big buy-ins. The only way you can increase the field is by making people buy in 5, 6, 8, 10, 20 times. I don't understand why those just don't have their own trophy series, but I do understand it's because the WSOP wants it, and then they want the Daniels and the Seans and the Phils to be able to have more opportunities to win bracelets. And then the chase for the bracelets becomes bigger. And as Deeb gets more and Daniel gets more and these people get more, then they're closer to Helmuth, which creates more buzz, and it'll create more things in the summer. And they're just basically using these exclusive tournaments to prop up the brands, to allow the dream of us chasing these people, when in reality, the dream of me chasing down Sean Deeb and bracelets is, it's a dead dream. Like, I mean, if we were only doing summer, I mean, yeah, Sean's better than me. Sean plays more tournaments than me. He's a better tournament player than me. He's probably going to win more bracelets than me, but I'm not dead. I'm not dead in that arena. I can catch Sean if we just did Vegas tournaments, possibly. But, when he's playing and all these people are playing 100Ks and 250s and things. And when they're mixed in the summer, it's fine, because when you're playing 100K, well, I'm able to play a 5K, PL08 or whatever the game. I'm able to chase my bracelets at the same time, but you're basically you're only allowed to chase the bracelets and at this time of the year. And, that's fine. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I don't love it, but, I do like the high roller stuff, and I don't want no shade on these guys who play them and the Tritons and the big money stuff. And even though a lot of it is, it's kind of inflated for the consumer, because, these guys are all selling a large portion of themselves, and that's fine. Like, I don't mind that. People are allowed to sell the tournaments. I mean, I play tournaments that are above my bankroll as well, and I sell, and it's not a big deal. I'm not throwing shade on anybody for that, but I don't know. It's just a little artificial to me. Yeah. I mean, they've created some nice prize pools with these unlimited reentries and these high price points, and you're able to, but me being able to compete on the all-time money list and all-time bracelet list, I mean, that's a dead dream. I mean, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter if I put in 20 times the volume and if I'm 20 times the player. Some of these guys, like, I'm never going to be able to compete with these guys when it comes to all-time lists and things. And, I know that I'm not Hall of Fame worthy, but, somebody similar to me that might be a little bit better or have a little bit better results or things like that, they're just never really going to be able to compete, because how can I compete when I'm, cashing for $1 million a year and you're cashing for 5? Like, it's just impossible. And that's fine, but that's just kind of how it goes.
I have a friend who is a very, very casual poker fan, and he was talking to me the other day and made the observation that poker has kind of become this like upper echelon, high buy-in, like all the kind of media that you see now is geared towards these 100Ks and these 250Ks, and it kind of makes it's a lot different than 10, 15 years ago, where you would follow the story of the guy who went from online and became a millionaire. Now the entry level is so high that it seems unattainable to the regular person. Do you think that it's like, it seems to me like it is kind of trending in that direction? The $1 million cash game, the Triton series. It's like, I mean, I don't see myself ever playing a Triton. Obviously, it's kind of absurd.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that the dream of making it in poker is not necessarily dead, because the mid stakes stuff is still really good, and there's still a lot of it, and the money is still pretty big. But the idea of turning that into becoming a poker superstar is somewhat dead. I'm not saying it's impossible. I mean, Jesse Lona started grinding in the smaller stuff, and he built his way up, and he took his shots, and he hit on his shots, and now he's one of the biggest superstars in the game. And I'm a big fan of Jesse, both personally and on the felt. I think he's great for a game, and I think he's a great dude. So it's not completely dead. The reality is, if you're not tied into a network, if you don't study with these guys, and you don't, it's very, very, very hard to become a poker name unless you're creating content. And there's different avenues to do that. But the dream used to be to prove yourself on the poker felt and get fame because of it. That's how Daniel did it. That's how Phil did it. That's how Johnny Chan did it. That's how all these guys did it growing up. It's kind of how I did it on a much smaller scale. That's how these guys do it. Now your entry point into poker fame is one of two things. It's not because of your poker talent. It's because you take a camera at the table and you film everything, and then you're able to distribute it to the masses and build an audience that way, whether you're good or not. You look at, some of the sponsored players, and those are people who have learned how to create content, and good for them. Like, some of them are really nice guys, and some of them are good players. But, most of them didn't earn their fame by being great at poker. They did it a different way. So it's just a different way of gaining popularity and fame. Or the other way is just to, prove yourself a little bit, and then happen to be, befriend some of the people in the higher networks, and then, they give you a shot and you take off. But the day of kind of being able to grind your way up and prove yourself. I mean, you can look back at some of these people who've done well in the World Series this last few years, and they never really took off as poker stars because they didn't do either of the other two.
There's one more way that I can think of, and that is you have a parent or grandparent who was a white collar criminal and put a lot of money into a trust fund for you.
you like being in movies. Yeah. I think it's added another
I know
rung.
a few of those.
It's added another couple of rungs to your point, David, where it used to be, okay, well, you get in a tournament, you win it, you win another tournament. Now you get known and you have a bankroll, and now you can play more and more and more, and then you bank and you bank. Well, it just added these 2, 3, 4 new rungs on the ladder. You've got to do that, and then you've got to run good in high rollers, and then you can make friends. Yeah. And then,
the reality is you can't succeed in the high roller world unless you either are backed or you have a strong selling network. Like, let's just say, for instance, I'm new on the scene and I come in and I play this $1,000 prime at the WPT, and there's 10,000 people, and I get fifth, or, even you win, you may win $1 million, and, your friends have peace, whatever. Like, you're not just all of a sudden going and playing like 100Ks and 25Ks and 50Ks. Like, whoever wins this prime, unless it's like a name pro, like, you come up, like, you still have that next step that you have to do. Like, you're not able to, it used to be where it's like, okay, well, you bink something for $1 million. Well, now you're able to go to Foxwoods, play the 10K. You're able to go to Commerce and play the 10K. You're able to go to Bellagio and play the 10K. You're able to go to the Mirage and play the 10K. And now, you can book, 2, 3, 10K final tables on WPT and get known, and you're known. You make 3 WPT final tables right now, you're still not known because people are still watching the Tritons and the Hustler streams. Like, that's what they're watching. They're not watching WPT anymore. I mean, I can still like see people in poker room like, oh, I remember that guy. He was season 3 of WPT from Tunica. Like, that I wouldn't know a guy who like made the final table. I couldn't name one person who made the final table from, Choctaw 6 months ago. Like, I just don't, but I could still probably point out somebody who made Tunica final table 3 years ago. I mean, 20 years ago, because that was our exposure to poker. And it's not good, bad, or otherwise. It just kind of is what it is. And you just have to understand coming up that, you're probably not going to reach the fame by only being good at poker. You either A, have to network well, or you B, have to be very good at making content.
All right. So to the tournament series itself, David, I know you're playing some cash games as well, but jumping into tournaments here and there.
I'm playing some of these WPT. Look, I just want to thank the WPT for what they do for this winter series. They bring everybody to Vegas outside of the few people who are in the Bahamas. And cash games are off the charts here. I mean, there's so many people walking around, and the tournaments are great. I mean, it wasn't unlimited re-entry at WPT. I mean, it was one re-entry per day. And you make the money on day one and come back, and they get 10,000 entries. Like that. That's outstanding. The dealers are outstanding. The environment's outstanding at the Wynn. And look, I love the WSOP. I've said that a million times, and I love the WPT. And I think it's great that they each have a big series here in Vegas, and I'm going to support that as long as I can. So yeah, I like it. In my perfect world, the World Series would run in, if they want to have a winter one, they run it in January, and they have, a mixture of mid stakes and high stakes. But, I'm not the decision maker, and they don't care what I think. They're at war, and it kind of just is what it is right now. You kind of got to choose. And luckily, as a player, I don't have to choose forever. I can choose for this month on one, and I can choose for the other one, in the summer, and that's fine.
Shout out to our buddy, our golfing buddy, Matt Savage, who runs that tournament. And is he around? Is he glad handing everybody?
He's a fan of the pod. He gives me shit for my, Bo Nix takes and stuff from time to time. He solos me around the golf. We bet Bo Nix versus Dak Prescott when the Broncos crushed his Dallas Cowboys. Okay. But yeah, Matt does a great job here, and everybody at the Wynn. I mean, the Wynn's first class, man. I mean, they couldn't have a better partner for a series at this time than the Wynn. I'm just, every time I go, like I really thought this Prime was going to be a little bit of a shit show because there was so many people in town, and there's I had so much buzz. And I text Matt, which was 1D yesterday. The last flight is always the busiest, and I played a late session, and I wasn't able to get there at the very start of the day. So I texted him like 2 hours into the day, and I was like, "You guys have alternates?" Because I just needed to kind of plan out when I was going to get there. And he was like, "Nope, everything's smooth." I walked in, there was 4 people in line with 8 cashiers to buy in, and I got my seat assigned, and I went and I sat down and played my first hand. Like it's just very easy, very good process and everything. So poker's continuing to evolve and do like really good things. And I think it's a misnomer that it's a dying breed, and like that not all companies care and stuff. There are some companies that care. There are some properties that care, and we need to continue to support those properties that do put out that extra effort, because not all of them have in the past. And that's the reason why we've lost such great trademark tournaments as, Commerce and Foxwoods and, some of the other ones that we've had in the past. And we would need to continue to promote and support the ones who continue to help grow poker.
Yeah, tournament poker, grassroots. I know we were complaining about high stakes or draining bankrolls and stuff, but tournament poker at the grassroots level seems very, very healthy, and cash games as well. I mean, we're seeing all kinds of stuff, and you were saying cash games are exploding in Vegas around this series. So if you want to play cash, follow the tournament pros around and chase them in the poker games. Another shout out to another golfing buddy of ours, Ben Ludlow. I know you saw this, David, in the World Series of Poker Plus commercial this week. They now have an ICM chip value calculator that Ben did an ad for, where in the app, in the World Series of Poker app, you enter your chip stack in the specific tournament you're in, and it calculates your ICM for you, which is hilarious on so many levels, and the hypocrisy at its finest. We're not going to let you do deals, by the way. You can't do a deal in the World Series of Poker, but here's what your chips are worth if you wanted to do a deal. We're not going to facilitate it, and you got to work it out amongst yourselves, and maybe you get ripped off and maybe you don't. And also RTA, real-time assistance, isn't allowed, but here you go. Here's a solution for the value of your stack. It's mind-blowing to me that they would get this, something that this would happen.
Yeah. Well, also, here's your ICM value of your stack. You're not allowed to chop. But if you do, you might get suspended from the World Series.
Right.
So it's just kind of like you're just basically like putting heroin in front of a heroin addict and going, "Here, I'm just going to leave this here. Don't use it. I'm going to go to lunch. This is going to be here when you get back, but don't use it." It's just, look, I've heard some arguments for it's like, oh, if you want this information, you can easily get it. And it's like, yes, you can. But GTO Wizard, a lot of people have that too on their phone, and they go and they use it. That doesn't mean we should be putting in the apps. Like what's the next step? You're gonna take some money from GTO Wizard and you're gonna put it in there, and it's like, check your spot after the hand. It's like, oh no, well, everybody's got that. They know how to use it, and it's just like, no, we're not. We don't need to make things easier for people to do. Let's make it harder. Let's put blocks on, let's put firewalls up where you can't access this kind of stuff. Like, not be making it and putting it part of our apps. But yeah, I mean, I just thought it was a terrible idea. And, I think it's hypocrisy on all fronts. And, yeah, I made a comment about it, and Ben, started out at first, he took it personal, and then then I told him, I'm like, this had nothing to do with you and your commercial. Like, that was great. Like, you're good at your job of content. Yeah. It was 100% just about just adding like real-time assistance just in any regard. And I mean, let's just be honest, the hypocrisy around a lot of the stuff in poker is just off the charts. I mean, Ren, who is great. I like Ren a lot. Not that I have a relationship with him at all, but I think he was good. But on one side, this is like, he did this thing where he needs to pay back all this money and he's being suspended. And then, whatever, a month later, he's back at the Bahamas playing in the biggest stuff there is. And it's just kind of like, do we think if this was Adam Schwartz, that that your ban would have been lifted a month later? Probably not. Even if you did the exact same thing, even if you paid back the exact amount of money, even if you issued the same apologies, even if you did all this stuff, but because he's a sponsored pro, because he's liked, because whatever, they waived it. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have. I mean, I don't know if they should have suspended him to begin with. I don't know.
Well, that's the point. They shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, do one or the other. Either suspend them or don't. Like you
exactly.
Yeah, it's basically just kind of like whatever, a football player being suspended for something and then they overturn it. It's like either suspend them or don't. Like I don't have a problem with either one. If they wanted to suspend him and make a case out of him and say you have a 1-year penalty, or a 5-year penalty, or you're done forever, like whatever. Like I would disagree if they made it too harsh, because I don't think the crime was that off the charts that it needed to be. But to say you're suspended indefinitely and then let him back in the very next high roller series that's available is very hypocritical, because I don't think they would have done that for everybody. So there's just a lot of hypocrisy in poker, and there's a lot of hypocrisy in our society, to be honest. I mean, let's just look at our governments. I mean, both of our governments are very hypocritical on a lot of things, and the news media is very hypocritical. If you say one thing, but you're on the correct side of it, it's fine. But if you say something, demeaning, but you're on the other side, you're the worst person ever. And it's just, everything is hypocritical in our society. And I wish we could learn to take more nuanced stands on things.
Consistent stances. That's
all. I guess that's the word.
Yeah. 100%. I honestly, I 100% agree. I don't think what Ren did was specifically that bad. If what was told to us is true, and it was a one-time thing in a chat group with 100 people, and he just reflexively gave his opinion on a hand, okay, big deal. It's not an orchestrated group that's ghosting or having people sit in on late stage tournaments or anything like that. But don't come out and say he's suspended indefinitely. He's they pulled out of the tournament that he was in. And then like you said, 6 weeks later he's back in, and not, by the way, no announcement, no anything. It's just, Ren's at the tournament. Not like his suspension has been lifted. We feel like he's paid the price, whatever. He just kind of tried to sneak him back in and throw him in Daniel's vlog, and maybe everybody be all right or whatever. I don't know. But again, consistency is just
consistency in life is where we should measure companies, people, everything.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Speaking of consistency, the gross beat that you took is consistent with some stuff that happened this year, and the Broncos win their 10th in a row. Let's get to some football. We're done with the poker. The Broncos win their 10th win in a row, but this game caused a lot of havoc. I think Dave Portnoy said everybody should be investigated. He obviously had the Broncos. So the Broncos are playing the Raiders. The Broncos are favored by 8. Let's just kind of frame this a little bit. With 1:04 left, the Broncos have the ball, 4th and 3 on the Raiders 27. They're up 10. There's 1:04 left. They run the ball into the wall, no gain, and Las Vegas takes it over. They could have kicked a field goal, by the way. They're up 10. They could have been up 13, which is 2 touchdowns rather than a touchdown and field goal, which is significant, right? I mean, it's a pretty big difference, I think, there if you just kind of kick the field goal from the 27 and whatever, right?
Yeah, I was sitting in that end zone.
Yeah.
I was there. I was like, please kick the field goal, but I knew they weren't going to kick.
Because you had the Broncos -8, and so did Dave Portnoy, clearly. So Las Vegas takes the ball over. They do nothing on 2 plays. There's 34 seconds left in the game. They're on their own 35. They have no timeouts left. Kenny Pickett, the quarterback for Las Vegas, tucks and runs towards the sideline. And he easily could have run out of bounds to stop the clock, but instead he cuts to the middle of the field for no more yards and gets tackled at his own 43. And then there's 27 seconds left when he gets tackled. They bring everybody up to the line. He spikes it with 16 seconds left. And then they get a big chunk play. Denver's playing prevent. Bowers gets tackled inbounds at the Denver 32. Again, they're down 10, 7 seconds left in the game. And they're not going to be able to get everybody up because it's a chunk play. They're not going to get the whole line and everybody up with 7 seconds left to be able to spike the ball and, I guess, try it for the end zone or whatever. But the refs call a penalty on delay game on the defensive back who is basically getting up to run back to the line. He's not even trying to hold Bowers down. He's just jumped up, and I guess he was on Bowers when they tackled him, and he just jumps up to run back and get into position because he knows there's going to be a play. The ref calls a penalty and stops the clock, and then they kick a field goal on the last play of the game to lose by 7. And the whole betting community is like, what the fuck just happened? Like, why in the world, is Las Vegas kicking a field goal there or whatever? Why is the ref calling that penalty? It makes no sense at all, and it just happened to be to cover the line. And of course, now conspiracy theories go crazy. I mean, it must have driven you crazy.
I mean, yeah, obviously, the Broncos were my biggest play of the week. So it was extremely frustrating for me. The whole thing, just the consistency of how teams handle these situations is just so weird sometimes. And, I don't believe that like most of these coaches like know the game or the total or any of the stuff that they know that people want to say that they know and all this. So I just think that Carroll was just like he had in his head, get in field goal position, kick a field goal, kick an onside kick. And, the fact there were 5 seconds left and, there wasn't even going to be time for an onside kick. But the consistency of it just is all just like stupid to me. Like a few weeks ago, Dallas was playing at the Raiders and Dallas had the ball with like 2.5 minutes left and the Raiders had timeouts and Dallas was inside the 10-yard line to go in and score a touchdown or a field goal. And they would have put the game over. It was currently under, may have had like some teaser, like just some different things. And you know what Dallas did? They kneeled on it 3 times. They gave the ball back to the Raiders. The Raiders kneeled on it and they went home. There was 2.5 minutes left. They didn't want to get anybody hurt. Now this game, they decide to try to do something when they can't win and risk players getting hurt. It's just the inconsistency of the teams. And then, when you're betting and there's millions of dollars and networks are being built based on the outcomes of these games and landing on certain numbers, it does make some who want to find conspiracies in it, have conspiracy. And I can understand why. It's like, why are you trying versus this one to score when the play doesn't matter and you're not trying on this one? And I understand at some point, like, there is some possibility versus zero possibility, but I don't know. The whole thing was just kind of weird and just kind of a microcosm into how, this stuff works. And, in our brains of betting, we always think this stuff goes against us. And this time it went against me. And I'm sure there'll be another time where it'll go for me, but I probably won't remember that one. So I'll just remember this one. But I'm there with my wife. We're having a great time. We go with, good friend, Justin Young, who's a huge Bronco fan. Does the Table One podcast. If you haven't checked that out, check it out. It's great. We're there with him and his wife. We're having a great time. We're there. We're Broncos fans. We're having fun. We're all winning our bets. And we just go from that to all of a sudden, like Justin and I are just like our faces drop and we're like, oh, like, and then we just gotta like go back to the car, like all happy. And it's just like, it was very frustrating. Yeah. Broncos won. I mean, my wife knew and, whatever. So, I mean, it's fine. Like, she knows I gamble and whatever. So, I mean, I host a podcast called Gamble Up. So, I mean, it says she knows there's money on the line on every play and every game. So.
Let's go over your wagers from week 14. Did I miss some wagers here? What did you have? You had Broncos, Ravens, Texans, Bills, Bears.
Yeah,
that looks like 1-4.
Then I had some other ones. I had Jacksonville. I might have had the Saints. Might not. I don't know if I put the Saints on there, but I did bet them.
You had the games. Your next level of the ones you liked, not loved. You had Jags, Jets, Vikings, Rams. Went 2-2. Oh no, you went
3-1 on that.
3-1 there, yeah. So again, not you had a couple bang up weeks in the last 4 weeks, and
this one was. I mean, the Broncos basically just swayed it. If the Broncos just, if there's 1 less second or whatever, 5 less seconds, they don't call the penalty, whatever the thing, however you want to say it. We have a good week, but is what it is. It's the NFL, and you're going to win some of those, you're going to lose some of them, and unfortunately lost this one. So.
Circa Millions, fourth quarter started this week. You had one team at 3-2, some at 2-3, and one at 1, or a couple at 1-4, I think. So tough week there. So you're going against the grain there, probably, I'm guessing. And
we're just gonna play it out. I mean, I don't think we can't do anything to win the booby. I don't think. So it's just kind of, we'll just try to scoop the board or try to eke out a min cash in the season longs or whatever. At this point, I'm just going to put in the plays. I mean, we did a good job last week of really going, playing some contrarian things that could have and should have worked out. I mean, had Texans basically everywhere, and the Chiefs were the most popular game on the board. We had the Vikings a lot of places, and they were the second least popular. The Redskins were the most popular. So picked a couple of good spots to be contrarian, but with the Broncos and Ravens and Bills kind of, shit in the bed, it kind of cost us there. Bills backdoor cover. But they were never really covering, so I don't really consider that one a bad beat, even though like they were up 12 with a couple minutes left. The Ravens had plenty of chances to win that game, but the ship might have sailed on this team for the year. But yeah, it kind of just is what it is.
All right, we'll take a spin through the divisions quickly before, and we'll talk about the Ravens. But Circa Survivor, another bloodbath week. A lot of people had the Bucks. I think there was 40 entries left, and 28 had the Bucks. Was it 40? 45 were left, and 28 had the Bucks. Yeah. So that leaves 10 after the Browns lost, and the Ravens and Eagles each had somebody on them. So there's now 10 left, and each entry, just pure value, 10 divided by the prize pool is 1.8 million. I believe Galen Hall, poker player Galen Hall, has a couple open. I'm wondering, so you died in week 13 along with 95% of the field. If you would have made it through somehow and found your way to the Cowboys or something in week 13, would you have had the Bucks, or did you have the Bucks open to you, or what would you have made it through this?
Well, week? This was a week that I had circled that I was going to do everything I could to not play the Bucks. I knew they were going to be super chalky. That being said, I don't think we had any reasonable pivots on the cards. Unfortunately, had used Rams, Packers, and Seahawks on everything. I would have never played Shador. Probably wouldn't have played Tua. Maybe I could have found a contrarian play with Minnesota. I mean, but probably not, honestly. I probably would have just played the Bucks, and I would have hated it. But if I would have had anybody who just only had the Browns and the Dolphins left, I understand playing the Bucks. But if you had anything else, this was the time to use that ticket, in my opinion. The Bucks were, over 60% owned. That was pretty obviously going to be the case. If you had any reasonable pivot like that, you had to play it here, and you being out, if you had a reasonable pivot, that's kind of on you. But that's kind of, I think I probably would have, because I'm pretty sure my entries didn't have what I needed, but it's a good lesson for me for next year to really make sure that I'm keeping some good teams that maybe we don't know these spots are going to be good, and maybe taking some chances earlier with some spots instead of like playing the chalk Green Bay and the chalk Rams and the chalk Seahawks, like maybe keeping some of these better teams, even if you're going to have to play them in worse situations later than they're in, at least you get to be off. You don't have to be on chalk Tampa. You don't have to be on chalk Carolina, like the weeks that these guys were the chalk and not comfortable chalk. So, I mean, I would have never been comfortable with Tampa. Our friend Mark Gregrich won a big survivor pool because he was the only one who didn't have Tampa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He played it big. He played it well, and he had Green Bay available on an entry. He also had Tampa, and he could tell that like everybody was going to be on Tampa, and he could have saved Green Bay later, but he knew that like, even though he didn't like Green Bay necessarily in this game, and we both liked Chicago in the game overall, just a spot to be on a different team at a reasonable point spread, like you just had to take it, and he took it, and he ended up scooping the whole pool. So it's kind of cool.
One of the interesting things about Survivor this week, and I don't know if you noticed this, but there's a couple of podcasts out there and some websites that are sort of devoted to the Survivor the space, and they're interesting, especially when it gets down to this level. And there was a sort of a steady stream of the remaining 10 guys or girls in the in the Circa Survivor that were coming out and declaring who they were going to take. And it was like a race to see who could declare first to sway other teams from taking the team they picked, because they wanted, obviously they don't want to have everybody on their team. So, they'll have a chance at scooping this week. Interesting game theory move, huh?
Yeah, so that's Last Man Standing pod with Tony Farmer.
Yeah.
Tony Farmer and I do the Saturday night sweat show. So check that out on X 6:45 every Saturday night if you're interested in Survivor content. But yeah, so this is a trend so everybody always keeps their Survivor picks confidential, because information is key, and if you let out information, then kind of sways things. And early on, you kind of may want to keep your cards close to the vest. 2 years ago, L.A. Joneser, I think, was the first one to do this. He started announcing his picks on Twitter, and people were like, oh my God, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't understand what's going on. But he was so far ahead of the game. And so he would go ahead and he would say who he'd pick. And so now I have another entry, and I'm like, well, he's going to be on San Francisco. So that's one of the remaining X number of people that are left. So I automatically, like, if I'm between Jacksonville and Philly, like, or San Francisco and Philly, and I know he's going to take San Francisco, it just makes sense for me to take Philly. Well, now you're the same boat, and you look at that. All of a sudden, he's at a spot where it might have been 3-3, Philly and San Francisco, and he sways one or two people to go over to Philly, and now all of a sudden he's looking at a 5-1 or 4-2 distribution, so he's getting more bang for his buck. And it was genius, and nobody really considered it at the time. And when he did it, I kind of saw what he was doing, and I was like, this is pretty smart. And now everybody's kind of doing it. And we're at the point in the contest where there's 10 left, so information really is key. And I think everybody's telling the truth right now, because it makes sense to tell the truth, because the last thing you want to do is switch somebody onto your side from an opposing side. The interesting thing will be, like, later, if maybe you think this team's going to lose, but I think they'll be high owned, or like maybe you might be able to come up with a different game theory to bluff. And Galen Hall, one of the best poker players, I've ever played with, is one of the most fearless poker players I've ever played with. That guy will bluff in any situation, anytime, if he thinks that, it's the right thing to do. And so he might have some master plan to bluff somewhere down the line. But it makes no sense for him to bluff now, because, like, now it's more beneficial not. But there definitely could be some things. Let's say, for instance, I don't know the thing, but let's just use Jacksonville and the Bengals, just two teams that everybody might have left. Let's say Jacksonville's an 11-point favorite, and the Bengals are an 8-point favorite. He might just say that I'm gonna take, I don't know. He might want to take one of those teams, and he might feel like he has a better hedge opportunity with the other one. So he might try to get you onto one so that he can hedge more. I don't know exactly how you would do it, but there's got to be some way. There has to be some game theory behind it. So, it's fun to watch the whole thing play out.
Galen, speaking of week 13 and all the upsets that happened there in the first 4-game set, I think Galen, or in both anyway, I think Galen had 4 huge dogs. He had 4 entries left, and he picked 4 dogs.
Yeah, I think he had 5 entries, and he played all 5 on dogs, and I think they were 3-2 on the 2 biggest ones, the ones that created the most leverage.
Yeah,
it was great. I mean, it worked out for him. I thought it was a smart play at the time. Most of the time, it's not going to work out for him, because dogs don't win as often as favorites. I mean, that's just how it works out. But yeah, he ended up creating a ton of equity for himself, and all of a sudden he's sitting with $3.7 million in equity in two entries. So,
all right, let's take a quick run through some of the divisions here and quickly chat about some of the stuff that happened and what's going to happen going forward. So this weekend in the AFC, or last weekend in the AFC, was pretty interesting, right? We had the Colts lose Daniel Jones for the season, and pulling a guy off Social Security, Phillip Rivers. Been retired for 5 years. He looks like he's been on the couch maybe for 4 of those at his press conference. And the press conference was hilarious. I don't know if he caught it, but he's totally managing expectations. And he's like, hey, I don't know if this will work, but I could sit home and do nothing, or I could try it. And it's like, is that really, like, if you're a Colts fan, is that the confidence you want in a guy that you're bringing in? And I get Phillip Rivers can sling the ball, but can he take a 3-step drop now? Like, it's going to be weird to watch.
Yeah, I think it's kind of it's a pretty strong indictment on the lack of young quarterbacks that we have in this league, that they think that a 44-year-old guy who's been on the couch for 5 years and has 12 kids and is a grandfather has a better chance to come in and lead the team than a young guy. So yeah, I think that's like kind of telling with the complexities of the defenses, that just putting a statue back there that can read the defense is better than having an athlete. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how this all plays out.
It will be. And so they lost the third loss in a row for the Colts. They were flying high at 8-2. Now they're 8-5. The Texans caught them. The Texans have won 5 in a row in the AFC South. Jags, of course, won. They've won 4 in a row, topping the AFC South at 9-4. And then the Broncos. So let's go to the AFC West. We've got the Broncos winning their 10th in a row. We talked about it. The Chargers won again. And the Chiefs lost again. They are now 6-7. You got all mad at me when I put the Chiefs tombstone in our chat again a little bit early.
I left the chat.
You left the chat.
I mean, you jinxed them a few weeks ago.
I did.
And then
I did.
There was like 10 minutes left. The Chiefs are down 10, and are down 7, and you're sending the Chiefs dynasty's dead. I'm like, I'm out.
What the hell is this guy doing? Yeah. Anyway, they end up losing. Are the Chiefs cooked? Let's talk about it, because I think you kind of made a little bit of an argument that they do have a path to the playoffs from 6 and 7.
So when I made the argument, my assumption was that the Chargers were going to lose to the Eagles at home on Monday night, and that would have put them 2 games back. The Chiefs 2 games back of the Chargers, and the Chiefs and the Chargers play this week, and it's at home for the Chiefs. So if the Chargers would have lost on Monday night, then the Chiefs, if they just beat the Chargers at home, which they're like 6-point favorites right now, then the Chiefs would be 1 back with 3 to play, and Chiefs' schedule is much easier than the Chargers' schedule. So I thought that there was a reasonable chance that they could catch them, because I don't really see the Chiefs losing another game this year. The only tough games, they have 2 walkovers, and they play Denver and the Chargers both at home, and they should be, between 4 and 7-point favorites in each of those 2 games. So I thought that there was a realistic path there. I think that path is pretty much closed up with the Chargers beating the Eagles. Now they're 3 back. Even if the Chiefs win this game, they're still 2 back, which means the Chargers would have to lose 2 games, and I think it's a specific 2 games because of tiebreakers. I think they'd have to lose both of their 2 AFC games, which they could. They're playing Houston and Denver, so it's not completely dead, but it feels like the walls are closing in for sure on the Chiefs.
Well, they have the Cowboys too. The Cowboys are a pretty good team. So
yeah, the thing with the Cowboys though is I don't think the loss to the Cowboys matters as much for versus the Chiefs. It matters for some other things, but just because the AFC record is the tiebreaker, and so they have to specifically lose to AFC teams, I think, for the Chiefs to actually get the tiebreaker. So if they lose to the Cowboys, then they still are going to have to lose those 2 AFC games. But that being said, it definitely can happen. I mean, the Chargers are probably going to be a coin flip versus both the Texans and the Broncos the last 2 games. So they could easily lose those 2 games, and the Chiefs could win out and get that spot for sure if the Chiefs win this week. That being said, let's talk about this game, because while we're here, I think the Chiefs are in a really, really good spot this week. I'm kind of mad at myself for not getting it when it was 4. It's now all the way up to 6. The Chargers are coming off of a full overtime game against a very hard-hitting, very tough Eagles team, which Herbert just got abused in that game physically, and now they've got to go to cold Arrowhead with a defense that played really well on Sunday night and a desperate Chiefs team. I think this is a really good spot for the Chiefs, and I don't like betting the Chiefs, and I don't really have a whole lot of confidence in the Chiefs offense, but I really think this is a great spot, and I think the Chiefs get it done here, and I think the Chiefs win this game. I wish I had a better number. I'm hoping maybe it stays below 6, because I will be having the Chiefs. It's not fun to lay 6 with a team that's not that great on offense in a low scoring game, but yeah, I can't play the Chargers here, so I have to play the Chiefs.
Over in the AFC North, we don't have a lot of good football being played at the moment. The Steelers did end up winning that game, but the Ravens lost, and they've lost 2 in a row. They're now 6-7 in the AFC. They're in trouble for sure. And I know you've got a bunch of futures on them. What's your sort of take on the Ravens?
Yeah, I mean, I was really happy with the numbers I got. I was really glad for the position I put myself in with the Ravens, and they have to win home games versus the Bengals and the Steelers. I mean, you just can't lose your touchdown favorites in both those games. You can't lose both of them. I mean, even if you slip up and you lose one, you can come back. They lost both. Now they basically have to win out, and they have a couple of really tough games in there. I don't really like my position anymore. So, I mean, it kind of is what it is. When you make a long shot bet, you need things to happen. And, a week or two ago, I had, the most amazing odds relative to what they currently are. And now I don't anymore. And that's part of betting. And so, yeah, I'm probably going to lose it. And I'm, no longer think the Ravens are going to make the Super Bowl. So, yeah, it just kind of is what it is at this point. I mean, I hope they come on and they beat the Bengals and, somehow, get their stuff together, but they haven't shown the propensity to put 4 quarters of football together, let alone 4 games. So,
the Buffalo Bills are -1.5 at the Pats this week in the showdown in the AFC East. They are 2 games back of the Patriots. So if they win this one, they'll be 10-4, and the Patriots will be 11-3. 1 game back with 3 to go. Going to be an interesting game. I'm not quite sure how Buffalo's favored in this game. I would have felt that, like, if everyone guessed the lines on Sunday night, I would have had the Patriots. I think probably about that much of a favorite, but maybe I'm down on the Bills a bit too much.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this line was kind of where I put it, but is it a fair line? I don't know. I just think that look at every power rating there is. Look at how these teams are being judged in the marketplaces, how they're being priced game to game. The teams with the great quarterbacks, the Mahomes, the Allens, the Lamars, they are getting priced higher than the team has shown that they're worth. We've continued to bet against the Chiefs. I've continued to be stubborn and bet on the Ravens, but you should have been betting against them. And for the most part, the Bills have not been what they're supposed to be. The teams are being valued much higher than they should because of the quarterback. I think we all just expect that these quarterbacks are going to eventually figure it out and find it. And Josh Allen's been very good. He's not been like Lamar and Mahomes. But that being said, this Bills have a lot of problems. They can't stop the run, and they can't catch the football. So you basically have to stop Cook and Allen scrambling. That's basically your ticket. I think I trust the Patriots to do that, but I don't really love this game. I mean, I think I like the Patriots, but yeah, I'm having trouble really coming up with a strong take, and that's just because it's hard for me to foresee quarterback not being the most important position on the field. And maybe we're at the point where it's not. I mean, we're looking at the AFC, the best teams in the conference are led by Bo Nix and Trevor Lawrence and Drake May, who's a second-year quarterback, and he's proven to be very good, but he's still a second-year quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, maybe team building is more important than actual just having the best quarterback.
Interesting. Okay. The Packers -2.5 at the Broncos. Also wouldn't have called this line. Broncos won 10 in a row. Sure. I guess is the game more important to the Pack? I'm not sure. It seems like it's important to both teams.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that line?
Yeah. Honestly, I thought it was a lot lower than I thought. I thought that'd be 3.5, maybe 4.
Oh, wow.
Just judging how they've been pricing the Broncos, they had the Chiefs at 4.5 in Denver a few weeks ago. And I think the Packers are, one of, if not the most highest ranked team, according to, how they put the odds out there. So I really thought that it would be higher. This is kind of like a lot of respect, I think, for Denver.
Okay.
But
interesting. I mean, 10 in a row, I think
nobody gives that any. I mean, people don't care. They really don't. I mean, they just look at this and they're like, oh, they needed a miracle to beat the Jets and the Giants. And, whatever. They just dismiss the fact that they beat the Eagles and the Chiefs and some of these other teams because, let's be honest, the Eagles and Chiefs aren't today that good. So, I mean, it's like, oh yeah, okay, well, you beat those teams. But it's funny, the Eagles weren't disrespected before the Broncos beat them, and they kind of sent them into a tailspin, and the Chiefs weren't either, and they kind of sent them into a tailspin. So maybe the Broncos just, are that team. That being said, I'm very scared of this game. I haven't really been pro Packers, and I've been very pro Broncos, but I'm very scared of this game. I'm afraid of, I don't know. I'm just kind of afraid of what this pressure could do to Bo, and I'm hoping that Bo, has a good game. I'm a little worried that Sean Payton doesn't believe in his quarterback as much as I do because, I just watch him out there and it's like he's calling plays with kid gloves on. So I really expected him to go out and just try to get some confidence before this stretch again, in that Raiders game. And they didn't. They ran the ball a lot. They ran a lot of 2 tight end sets. They had blocking receivers out there. I'm a little disappointed in the game plan there, and I hope it doesn't come back to bite them.
The Detroit Lions, who need to win, are in playing the Rams, the Super Bowl favorite Rams, and the Rams are favored by 6. But these Lions is a team that we've kind of through this season struggled with how to figure out, are they good enough? Are they a team that's a challenger to win the Super Bowl? And they're going to find out this weekend when they.
Yeah, I thought this line was really high when it first came out. I really thought that this line would be closer to 3.5. It really just shows how the market thinks of the Rams and kind of how important the couple guys that the Detroit lost in the secondary is. So I saw this game and I was like, wow, this is way too many points. I'm going to take Detroit. But now after looking at it and Branch, their all-pro safety, and Armstead corner are both out, and wow, that's something I don't want to do is go against Stafford, Puka, and Devontae right now with a banged up secondary. That being said, I do still kind of trust Detroit to put points on the board. So yeah, this is going to be a great game. One I'm definitely interested in watching. I'm hoping that I'm sure we'll be on opposite sides of rooting interest on this one. You need the Rams to lose for your Seattle, and I kind of need the Rams to lose for my Rams. So I mean, the Rams to win for my Rams, but I don't know. I'm not really sure how I'm going to bet this game. I think it's too many points. I really don't want to lay it. So it would probably be Lions or nothing for me here.
And then just quickly, looking at the futures for the Super Bowl, Rams plus 270, Seahawks plus 6.5 to 1. 6.5 to 1. Pack 7.5 to 1. Bills 8.5 to 1. Pats and Broncos 10 to 1. Eagles, Texans 13 to 1. Do we see any value here at all?
I think that's where I draw the line. I don't think there's any other team. I think those are the teams that can win it. I don't know. It's kind of just choose your fighter at this point. I mean, I feel like these teams are somewhat interchangeable. So it's kind of like, which one do you, I want to like the Broncos, honestly, but I really am worried about their schedule down the stretch. They play the Packers, the Jags, the Chiefs, and the Chargers. And that's 4 games that I don't think they're going to be big favorites or more than, they're going to be field goal favorites at most versus any of these teams. They could easily lose 3 of these 4 games and maybe even put them on the road. Maybe not have the confidence. So I'm a little worried about them. I've obviously put some money and I've put my mouth behind the Broncos. So I'm hoping that they can go 3-1 somehow and get the 1 seed, but or at least hold on to the 2 seed. But yeah, I'm a little concerned about them at that price. I think if I was going to play Broncos, I'd probably just wait because either A, you're going to get a better price later if you just believe in this team, or B, you'll probably just be able to get that price because I don't think they can go much lower. The Patriots could be good at that price. 10 to 1 seems okay for them. Texans really look good right now. I mean, the defense is all pro and they definitely have a path for the winning the division. If you win that division, then you obviously have a home game, and the way it sets up, if you're the 3 seed, maybe you have to beat Jacksonville or something, and then you're going to have to either go to Denver or New England. I mean, I could see Texans beating either of those two teams on the road. So maybe the Texans, but I think this is just a wait and see.
If you like the Broncos, could you not just parlay the money line in each of the games and get better than 10-1? I feel like, especially
in the playoffs, you mean?
Yeah. So if you,
I mean, it just kind of depends like who they face. I mean, if they end up with the 1 seed, then you're only getting to parlay 2 games instead of 3. Well, 3 games counting the Super Bowl. So you're not getting to parlay as many, and you may end up versus Jacksonville or somebody like that you might be laying like 300 or something.
But yeah, the
value in the futures is kind of because there's all this money baked into some of these teams that can't win. So like when I got the Ravens, like all these other teams are kind of like baked in. Now all those teams are just kind of like baked out. They're all like gone. Maybe the Chargers, I could see the Chargers get it. If they can figure out their offensive line issues, they've got a tough schedule, but maybe they would be the long shot I might consider. But I think really it kind of ends there. Maybe the Lions, if you think the Lions can beat the Rams, but I think if you do like that, then maybe you just play the Lions this week, and then you end up, taking some of that profit and putting it on next week.
What about the Eagles coming off a game where Hurts couldn't have looked worse, but he's done it in the past. The Eagles have done it. They're 13-1. Can you make a case there? I
mean, we keep wanting to believe the Eagles are good. We keep wanting to believe that the Ravens are good. The Chiefs are good. They're just not. I mean, we just want to continue to look at history and say them, but sometimes teams just don't have it. Sometimes they're not meshing, and this Eagles team does not look like they like each other. They don't trust the quarterback. They don't trust the play caller. They don't trust the offensive line. You can just continue to win with smoke and mirrors for so long, and the Chiefs and the Eagles and the Ravens are kind of finding that out the tough way. So yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty hypocritical of me to just sit here and just keep banging the drum for the Eagles because at the same time just be like, I'm off the Chiefs. Like, there's a lot of similarities between these two teams. I mean, neither of them look good. Neither of them look cohesive. Neither of them are finding ways to win football games that they should be winning or they've won in the past. So how can I sit here on one side and say that when I'm on the other side as well? So that's kind of just where I stand on all that. I'm trying, to have some kind of consistency and not be hypocritical.
All right. If you want to follow David for his picks, of course, his Twitter is @AUDavidB on X, and you're going to be playing a bunch of cash games and tournaments. Good luck this week to all those of you out there playing tournaments as well, and in Vegas or in the Bahamas, I guess. Run good and win a bunch of money. And we will talk to you next week.